Today on the Big 6 in 60, Texas basketball lands a top recruit.
The number one basketball recruit in America.
The Kawhi Leonard trade to the Raptors is on hold.
That the Kawhi trade is on hold.
And the NBA's top picks make their Summer League debuts.
Dybantsa 27 in his Summer League debut.
This is the Big 6 in 60, the 6 biggest national sports stories from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now. Thank you for making the Big 6 in 60 your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Texas Longhorns landed another big commitment on the basketball court as Marcus Spears Jr. is headed to Austin. Brad Kellner with Locked On Longhorns get into what the prized recruit brings.
The number one basketball recruit in America in the class of 2027 just reclassified to 2026 and then committed to the Texas Longhorns. Marcus Spears Jr. is coming to Austin, the son of longtime NFL defensive lineman Marcus Spears, the daughter of former top 10 WNBA draft pick Aisha Smith, the brother of Texas volleyball superstar Kari Spears. He's following in his sister's footsteps and joining the Longhorns. Y'all, this is massive. You could probably hear it in my voice. Spears is the number one player in the country for next year's recruiting class, according to the composite rankings. And again, now he's reclassifying and joining the 2026 class, and he becomes the final piece of Sean Miller's 2026-27 roster at Texas. This is a monster edition. The Longhorns had one roster spot still available. We were all wondering who was going to fill it. Now we know, and it was well worth the wait. And this pickup totally changes the ceiling of what Texas basketball can be next season. But not only next season, the year after that too. Look, before this pickup, the Longhorns already had a very interesting roster, a deep roster, a talented roster, a lot of transfers, a very good incoming freshman class, all sorts of pieces at all 5 positions. We liked what Texas had built, and a lot of folks were projecting the Longhorns to be a preseason top 10 to 15 team going into the coming season. But adding Marcus Spears Jr., that gives the Longhorns a different kind of top-end talent. A 6'9.5" forward with elite athleticism, easy for me to say, and a big-time pedigree. And oh, by the way, a player who's going to be in Austin for 2 years because of his age and because of the NBA draft rules. That part matters too. Usually when you get a player as highly touted as Marcus Spears Jr., he's a one-and-doner. That is not what this situation is. Spears has to play at least 2 seasons at Texas before he can enter the NBA draft. So this is not just a huge piece for 1 year. This is a cornerstone player for a minimum of 2 seasons. I'll probably say a total of 2 seasons as well. This is a massive win for Sean Miller, and yet another sign that this Texas men's basketball program has real momentum. Saw some quotes from Marcus Spears Jr. a moment ago. He said it himself. He believes that Texas is on the brink of doing something special. He said, quote, "Texas is a team that's turning around. They're on the brink of doing something special, and I can go be a part of that," end quote. That's the pitch. That is what Sean Miller's trying to build. Obviously, the Longhorns making it to the Sweet 16 in year 1 of the Sean Miller era. You could tell Texas is moving in the right direction, and now Coach Miller gets a player with legitimate NBA upside to be a part of it. And not just NBA upside. We're talking like number 1 pick in the draft in a couple of years upside. The family angle here is also really cool. I mean, the athletic background is obvious. We talked about his parents, Marcus Spears, longtime NFLer, first-round pick. His mom was a top 10 draft pick in the WNBA. And then Kari Spears, being a superstar for the Texas volleyball team, first-team All-SEC last year, third-team All-American last year. And Marcus talked about that being a big factor in his decision as well. He said, quote, "I committed to Texas because I want a chance to be in school with my sister. At the end of the day, me and her have a really tight bond. It was tough only being a few hours away from her," end quote. Marcus was playing in Plano, by the way. But that is awesome, the relationship that those two have. Obviously awesome if you're a Texas fan that was the thing that tipped the scales in favor of the Longhorns. He also added this quote, "I made up my mind 2 years ago that I was going to Texas. At the end of the day, that's where I wanted to be." That's the kind of quote you got to really love, right? This was not some last-minute, spur-of-the-moment kind of decision. This wasn't Texas jumping in late and randomly buying a commitment. This was a player with a real connection to the school, a real family tie, and a real belief that this is where he wanted to be, and now it's official. So what is Texas getting on the floor? Well, a modern-day forward with a ton of tools. I mentioned 6'9", 6'9.5", 210 pounds. He's a lefty. He's mobile. He's a freak athlete. He makes it look easy. He runs the floor well. He can finish above the rim. He's got soft hands. He's got touch. He's got a decent arsenal of low post moves already for a guy as young as he is. He's developing more as a shooter. He's got some ability to space the floor, but that's going to come more and more down the line. He could put the ball on the floor a little bit too. He can operate around the high post. He can facilitate for himself and for others. I mean, I'm just watching some of his tape a few minutes ago, and I'm just like, damn, this guy's unfair. And he's battle tested too. He's going up against some of the best players in the country, and he has no problem against any of them. Defensively, he could protect the rim. He could slide laterally. He's got some good foot speed and some movement there too. I mean, a very intriguing profile. And nowadays, you can't just be a back-to-the-basket power forward anymore. You've got to be able to do a little bit of everything and impact the game in a multitude of different ways on both ends of the floor. That is Marcus Spears Jr. And again, he's still so young. He's still filling out physically. He's still developing. And the good news is he does not have to be a finished product on day one. The foundation's incredibly impressive. The production is there too. At Dynamic Prep up in Plano, actually played for Jermaine O'Neal. Yes, that Jermaine O'Neal. Good guy to learn from. Long time, really good NBA power forward. Averaged 15 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game. He also played some with Austin Gooseby on the OTE circuit. Obviously, Austin Gooseby, the five-star freshman, brother of Trevor Gooseby, put up 20 points, 8.5 rebounds, a steal and a half, and a block and a half per game. With Drive Nation, the EYBL in the spring, he averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and a block and a half per game. So I bring all those numbers up to say it's not just projection. He's been productive. He's been efficient. He's been a major player in high-level settings. And wow, now he joins a Texas roster that suddenly looks like one of the best in the country on paper. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. We talked about it. Even before this pickup, there were folks saying Texas was a top 10 to 12 to 15 team going into the year. Now the Longhorns are going to be talked about as a preseason top 5 team nationally. And you understand why. Isaiah Johnson coming in from Colorado as the lead guard. Getting Mikey Lewis from St. Mary's. Amari Evans on the wing. Elijah Freeman coming in from Auburn. David Punch from TCU after the year he had in the Big 12. Obviously, Modest Vokatitis returning as your center. The freshman group with Austin Gooseby, the McDonald's All-American, and Bo Ogden and Joe Sterling, and now Marcus Spears Jr. on top of all of that. That's a ridiculous amount of talent. That's size, that's lineup flexibility, and this gives Sean Miller a ton of options. He can play big, he can play small, he can have multiple ball handlers on the floor, he could put Spears in as a 5 in smaller lineups, he could put him next to Modest Vokatitis or next to David Punch. And Spears also talked about Texas going to let him be him. He believes he fits what the Longhorns do offensively. He believes he's going to get developed and coached up, and he should, because Sean Miller has a long track record of developing talented big men and turning them into high NBA draft picks. Oh, the possibilities are endless with the Longhorns rotations this coming season. Awesome. And obviously really cool for Marcus Spears Jr. and the entire Spears family that they now have 2 stud athletes on campus. Spears is the highest rated Texas commit since Trey Johnson. Another 5-star look. Texas has had 5 stars recently. Dylan Mitchell, Trey Johnson, Arterio Morris, Austin Gooseby, now Marcus Spears Jr. There's been a lot of high draft picks, some one-and-done guys who have come through at Texas, but now it's about, okay, turning that high-end talent. Hell, Jared Allen's a good example. Texas couldn't win anything when Jared Allen was here. Now it's about turning that talent into real winning. That's the next step for the Longhorns, because Texas has had plenty of NBA talent before, but now it's about turning this roster into a real national title contender. Spears makes that more realistic. Having Sean Miller as your coach should give you confidence that that can happen. And again, I know I mentioned this in passing earlier, but I'll say it again. Marcus Spears Jr. does not have to be the best player on the team right away. That's the beauty of it. He's joining a loaded roster that does not need him to carry everything immediately. he can get developed while still obviously playing a lot, but he can grow a bit. And again, getting him for 2 seasons, the upside is enormous. He may be one of the best players in college basketball this year, but by the time you get to year 2 in that 27-28 season, he could be one of the very best players in the country. That's the bet Texas is making, and I think it's a very good bet for them to make. Marcus Spears Jr. is a Longhorn. How about that? The former number 1 player in the 2027 class has reclassified and committed to Texas. The final piece of the 26-27 roster. Size, athleticism, versatility, production, but also a ton of projection and upside. Obviously, the cool family connection as well. One of the most talented young basketball players in the world joining a roster that, again, was already really, really good. Huge for this year, but also huge for the direction of the program. And there's real belief that Texas basketball might be on the brink of doing something special, and there should be. What a pickup. What a day. Y'all know how much I love college basketball. Y'all know how desperate I am for Texas to be considered a basketball school. Not instead of other sports. We're an everything school. We keep winning Directors' Cups. We know this. But I want to be talked about in men's basketball the way we're talked about in softball, in football, in baseball, in volleyball, in swimming and diving. The list goes on. Rowing too. We could keep going. Sean Miller doing a pretty good job. It's only his second year. Haven't even started his second year, and he's already put together this team. Wow, wow, wow.
The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals mean more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. That's what I love about these tournaments. You can turn on a match between teams you don't normally follow, and suddenly one goal changes everything. The tension builds so quickly that you're invested before you even realize it, and now you get to benefit from each goal scored. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com now to get started. Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. Kawhi Leonard's contract situation remains in limbo as a new deal is reportedly being held up. Darian Vaziri with Locked On Clippers sorts through the latest.
The news comes out from Shams that the Kawhi trade is on hold because the aspiration investigation has not been completed. So, because of the aspiration investigation not being completed, the Clippers essentially were saying that if the Raptors take on Kawhi, they are then taking on any penalties that come upon Kawhi. So this is the exact quote from the Clippers. They say, "We recognize the uncertainty this has created and the impact it has had on our team, our fans, the Raptors organization, their fans, and the players whose futures remain affected while this process continues. We remain confident that when the facts are evaluated fairly and thoroughly, the NBA will confirm exactly what we have said from the beginning. We have not done what we are accused of doing." So I don't know how to even react. I mean, the fact of the matter is the trade is not final now, and Kawhi Leonard is still on the Clippers for now. This is something that I mentioned when the trade went down. I said, so what happens now with the aspiration thing? Do the Raptors get penalized now just for having Kawhi? Does Kawhi get penalized? Do the Clippers still get penalized because they're the ones that allegedly circumvented the cap? I do not know, but now we know for sure that the trade will not go through because the Raptors would then have to take on any punishment that the Clippers receive or Kawhi Leonard receives. So the Raptors issued their own statement, and they said they remain eager to bring Kawhi back to Toronto and look forward to a swift resolution for our players, our organization, and our fans. My take is that this is not a good thing. We just can't get rid of this guy. I mean, it seems like every single time it feels like it might happen, it doesn't. And he just continues to haunt us. Yeah, seriously. That's how I feel. It's like, oh my God, we're ready to move on. We made this trade. We got all these unprotected first round picks. I'm not gonna say we got Brandon Ingram like that's some great thing compared to Kawhi, because Ingram is not as good as Kawhi. But I'm trying to, move on, and the organization wants to move on. They want to get ready for next season. They want to start getting Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick assimilated and, comfortable with their new teammates and the Clipper way, going to the facility, doing all these things. And now all of that is put on hold. You looked at Kawhi Leonard's Wikipedia 2 days ago. It said he's a player for the Toronto Raptors. Now you look at it again, he's on the Clippers again. So this is a very weird situation. And it all depends on what happens with the aspiration scandal, which I hope isn't going to be too bad, because I want this trade to be finalized. It's what's best for the organization. The organization made a trade they needed to get done, because I don't even know the possibilities, but we can start brainstorming right now. I mean, does this mean that Kawhi Leonard's going to suit up for the Clippers next season? I wouldn't bet on it, because I feel like we're going to get to a resolution before then, especially with this news now coming out, now that it's actually holding up an NBA trade. But I would be shocked if Kawhi Leonard opens up next season with the Clippers, which quite frankly, I would not want. Not because of basketball reasons, but it's going to change the whole dynamic of our season. You know what I mean? We're trying to build for the future. We're trying to develop Wagler, Sanders, Miller, hopefully Ben Mathurin as well, and play with a different focus this season. Although Brandon Ingram would kind of just slot into the Kawhi role, so it doesn't change too much there, because we are still trying to be competitive this next season. However, we made the trade to trade Kawhi. We need to move on at this point and get these new guys integrated. And more than anything, I want those picks secured. Big time. But this is crazy, man. It feels like this saga won't come to an end. And it really depends on what this punishment is. Now, obviously, the most likely one is that the Clippers get fined a ton of money if there is a punishment, which it is what it is. I hope it's just that. Now, there's a small chance that we don't get found guilty of anything, which would be amazing, and then the trade could just go through. But I don't know what the Raptors were thinking, just making that trade without even worrying about this, almost as if he flees the country, then that investigation is not going to follow him to Toronto, and that's not how this stuff works. So the likeliness of the Clippers getting fined is pretty high. Then there's the suspension, potentially, of Kawhi. That would be very interesting, because if the Raptors do get him and then he gets suspended for 20 games, do you still want him? I would definitely still want him if I'm the Raptors. I don't think 20 games makes that big of a difference. Would you not want him for 40 games? What if they say he's suspended for half the season? Do they then not accept the trade, and then we have Kawhi back and nobody wants him? That would be a disaster. That would be a disaster if they have some kind of suspension. The Raptors are like, you know what? Nah, this isn't worth it. And then we're stuck with Kawhi again, and we don't have the picks. I would be devastated if that were the case. Devastated. Because I want these picks so bad. But it seems like we found a good deal for Kawhi. We got the value that we thought we couldn't get. I want it. And also, I'm just over the Kawhi experience. 7 years and it was over. It's done. But now it seems like it's not quite done. So we'll just have to see. And then there's the possibility of them potentially suspending Ballmer from his own games. That would be crazy, but I don't know. I really don't. And then last but not least, the punishment that has been thrown out there since the beginning, but I have zero confidence that it's going to be a thing. What if they void his contract? I don't see that happening, but in the case that they void his contract, he would then be an unrestricted free agent from what I'm aware of, and would only be free to sign the contract that he wants with teams that have that cap space, and the Raptors are not one of those teams. So that would honestly be a bad situation for Kawhi. He doesn't want his contract to get voided. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's a very weird situation, and now we can't quite talk about Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick just yet.
Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. AJ Dybantsa impressed in his Summer League debut and gave the Wizards fans plenty to be excited about. Ben Strober and Abdullah Ayyubi with Locked On Wizards recap the standout performance.
I'm going to give you the floor to start this thing. You dreamed of this moment. You dreamed of this day. AJ Dybantsa, 27 in his Summer League debut. Tell me how you saw it. How excited are you?
I just want to say that it is crazy that there were some folks out there, Ben, that were writing this kid off before he even stepped foot in Vegas. I get it. Darren Peterson's going to be nice, but tonight proved why the Wizards took this kid out of BYU. I mean, Ben, right out the gate, that dunk, which should have been a foul, in my opinion, getting to his spots. He is so quick for his size, Ben. He's going to be living at the free throw line. He's going to be fouled a lot. The 10 fouls in Summer League, though, Ben, that's definitely something that's funny. And honestly, I don't know if I'll ever get used to. But what a Summer League debut, Ben. I mean, the kid had 27 points, didn't shoot well. I think he shot 5 3-pointers, missed all of them, and was, in general, from field goal range, 7 of 18. This was generally, in my opinion, a game where he'll look back and say, I could have done a lot better because I could have made those shots. But just everything was awesome today. The defensive intensity, Ben, how can you not love it? What an electric debut by the first overall pick. I'm happy. I'm psyched, baby.
I was all smiles, man. I'm going to be all smiles throughout this pod. We got a lot to get into because not only did AJ Dybantsa absolutely impress in his Summer League debut, I thought Trey Johnson looked amazing tonight. We'll get into what he did later on in the program. Jameer Watkins had the assignment on Darren Peterson, and I think he did a pretty nice job. He really made sure to use all of those 10 available fouls. Talk about him. We'll get some of our thoughts out on Felix Okpara, what he did in his debut, Will Riley. So much to get into, but let's start here with AJ Dybantsa. He was exactly as advertised, in my opinion. And what he did early on in the game, he showed exactly who he is. And that's a guy that has the ball in his hands, and he makes things happen every single time. There simply was not an answer from the Utah Jazz early in this game, as nobody could stay in front of him, as he continued to get to his spots every single time, attack aggressively downhill, get to his spot every time, never shy away from the contact. After the first drive, he looked a little bit antsy. I think he rushed to the basket, took a little push shot from the left side, but he followed that up with a great drive and score, went up and under for his first bucket, then had a great outlet pass up ahead to Will Riley, showed some of the playmaking stuff, running the fast break. He looked very calm and poised, I think, especially in the first half outside of that first possession. I loved the way he crashed the glass hard and did some of the other ancillary stuff well. You can look at the statistics tonight, and I'll give you the full breakdown of it right here. 27 points for AJ Dybantsa, 7 of 18 from the field, 0 for 5 from downtown. So we'll definitely talk about that. 7 boards, 2 assists, just 1 turnover from Dybantsa, 2 steals. But I want to start here. 2 for 13 on shots that were outside of the painted area. I thought he had a couple of really good looks. The process was there. The process was great, I think, for the majority of this game. But he had a couple of those shots from the mid-range, including the one where he shook off Peterson a little bit just outside the paint, that he didn't get to fall. That is okay. Those are the type of misses that you can live with in the Summer League. Because the most important thing for me, AB, was seeing that he looked the part in this game. He looked like he belonged. And everything that he did, even on the shots that he missed, looked like him doing it with a high intensity, at a high speed. And it showed me that he is going to be able to score day one in the NBA. He's going to live at the free throw line the way he did today at the next level as well. I was insanely impressed by his aggressiveness that he showed today on the offensive side. I'll start there.
Ben, those shots will fall. I'm not even worried. The fact that he can get to his spot, and there were times where if he gets cut off going to the basket, the spin move, fadeaway jump shot, mid-range, that's his bread and butter. And first game, he's going to get better at it. Man, I'm just excited, man. How can you not be excited? I was watching on the Wizards broadcast, and Chris Miller and Drew Gooden were in awe. I mean, this is why you tank, Ben. You tank for guys like AJ Dybantsa because they are genuinely franchise-altering players. And I get it, guys. It is Summer League. But I'll tell you one thing. If AJ didn't have the greatest game, a lot of Jazz fans would be coming at him saying, oh, you guys took the wrong guy. Let me tell you something. We took the right guy. Your guy just had a couple extra games to play. Our guy made his debut tonight, and again, it was electric. I love it, man. I can't say enough nice things about tonight's game.
Think about it this way. There are so many ways that he can get better from now to the end of his rookie season. Tonight was a 27-point output, and a lot of it did come from the line. He was 7 of 8 from the free throw line, but we know that the free throws outside of the and ones count for 2. in the summer league, but just his ability to live there alone makes his floor insanely high as a scorer, because he's going to get to the free throw line extremely often in the league. His ability to get downhill and have the ball in his hands. Will Dawkins was not kidding, AB, when he said that they view A.J. Dybantsa as a guard. He had the ball in his hands nonstop in this game, which makes me wonder what it'll look like in the regular season with Trae Young on the floor. But in the summer league, where he has the opportunity to do it, they were letting him initiate, handle the ball up top. You saw at times, even as early as the first half, where they're sending to his way beyond the arc, because they simply did not have an answer for staying in front of him. Whenever he navigates around a screen and he uses that shoulder to kind of get around and create some separation and get downhill, that is the special stuff. Those are the goods from A.J. Dybantsa. He showed exactly why we thought his floor as a scorer was insanely high in this game. He could not shoot from the outside in this one, and that's maybe a little bit on brand based on what a lot of people say the weaknesses are of him. But if he can get the jumper to have a little bit more arc on it, fix some of the mechanical stuff, I think that can be done for Dybantsa. Man, this was a fun outing to see this kid do it. It's the summer league, and the win tonight doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but just to give you the reassurance that Dybantsa came ready to play today and showed you what he was about, I think it was a really good feeling for Wizards fans. You got to feel good if you're listening to this right now.
You didn't think AJ was hearing the noise? Everyone's saying that, hey, DP balling out, AJ's not even going to live up to even close to his potential. Come on now. There's a reason why this kid led the nation in scoring last year at BYU as a freshman. Certified baller, potential superstar in the league, Ben. The acrobatic layups, Ben, at that size,
right,
moving like
score.
I mean, that is just unbelievable. At 19 years old, this kid is just scratching the surface. And again, he scored 27.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, where he didn't shoot well. He's going to get better. Give him one session with lethal shooter. We'll be fine, baby. I'm hyped, Ben. I'm so psyched right now. I've been saying it. This live stream, I'm going to say it more. We have a potential face of the league on our team, Ben. It's genuine. And all the guys watching on the sideline, basically the whole roster,
that was cool,
culture,
man.
Folks, love it.
They got AD in Vegas watching the summer league with the guys. I bet you didn't think that would happen a couple months ago, right?
DeAndre Ayton was there too. Man,
right. And Chris Middleton was signed like 2 days ago. He's there.
Love it, Ben. Love it.
It is very cool to see the way people responded and even the energy that was in the building. I know the AJ mantra during the pre-draft process, AB, was I fill seats. Even the announcers were saying on the broadcast on ESPN tonight that there was more audible cheers for when anytime Dybantsa scored versus Peterson. And I'm not trying to knock down Darren Peterson in what he did in this game, because this episode is all about A.J. Dybantsa and what Wizards fans should be feeling right now. This is not the dunking on Darren Peterson episode. Nobody's dunking on Darren Peterson right now. He's going to be a really, really good player in this league for a long time. But, hey, shout out to A.J. He finally got a win over Darren Peterson, so he can cross that off.
We didn't even say it, bro. The Wizards won today, too. And it was in crunch time. I love, man. Everything was good today, Ben.
Yeah, they did have some clutch buckets down the stretch. I was really hoping they wouldn't let it slip away to kind of, it wouldn't spoil it, because at the end of the day, the wins and losses aren't that important. But you know, let's see a guy in Will Riley who you think is going to be a rotational piece for this team next season, get you some big time buckets down the stretch. I definitely want to talk more about him at some point, but we got to continue to hit on this debut from A.J. Dybantsa. I think when you have a player, when he has the ball in his hands like this, where you just know that there's always a high possibility that he's going to get to the rim in finish, just changes everything for the Wizards offensively and what they're going to be able to do going forward, especially considering that you're playing with legitimate talent on this team in the regular season, including Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Anthony Davis, and Trae Young. That's going to make a world easier for Dybantsa. And let's keep this in mind. The defense that you're facing in the summer league is different than the defense you're facing in the NBA regular season. We understand that, but Dybantsa showed that he belongs, that he looks the part of what NBA basketball is because of his skill set, because of his traits, using his speed and athleticism, having the ball in his hands. I thought there were a little bit of times, AB, where the handle was just a little bit loose, maybe not as tight as it would need to be at the full NBA level, but some stuff that I think is very, very correctable, and he showed why he is special.
Real quick before we go into break, Ben, Jameer Watkins, the defensive intensity, the pressure early on, he got hurt, I'm pretty sure, and then came back into the game.
He did. He got hurt after the Darren Peterson, everybody was going crazy, calling it an ankle breaker.
Did he step on his foot, or no, he just slipped?
I never saw the replay of it, if I'm being honest, but he was a little bit shaken up, but it was good to see him come back and man, he was in Peterson's face all night. Peterson had a push on him at the end of the game. I think
remember when Tariq Eason pushed Jameer Watkins? I think Jameer can get in people's heads, man.
Watkins is like a more ethical version of Lou Dort. I think that's what we got.
I like that.
In Jameer Watkins.
A lot of people are hyped up to watch AJ versus DP in the regular season. I think I'm more excited for DP versus Jameer Watkins, man.
Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. Darren Peterson made his Summer League debut in a marquee matchup against AJ Dybantsa in the Wizards. Leif Doolin with Locked On Jazz breaks out what stood out in his first NBA showing.
First things first, I think Darren Peterson's an effortless scorer. He didn't shoot it well, but he got good shots he just missed. That happens. So his 6 of 18 performance stands out as a big-time negative, but he scored 24 while playing poorly, and his team was nowhere near as talented on this given night than the Wizards team that came out more motivated and had Will Riley, who I think is very good. Will Riley's a guy I loved and really wanted the Jazz to take at 18 when they took Walter Clayton Jr. I digress. They had Trey Johnson, who went 6th, the one pick behind Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey did not play. They had other players. Julian Reese played in the NBA last year a fair amount. They had many players that played NBA minutes, and it showed. Jameer Watkins was fouling Darren nonstop. I'll get to that in a moment, but he's an NBA caliber player because of his defensive chops. Okay, so I want to start with that. But DP still got good shots. He just missed. Like that ankle-breaking crossover, if he had made that shot early, maybe makes that early free throw, this game could have a totally different, completely different tenor. So here's what differentiates the two for me. I think DP played poorly, but I actually felt even better after tonight's game about him being the best in this class after watching him and AJ tonight. Darren had a bad game, scored 24 points, and that's the power he has. Scoring comes easy to him with this incredibly high level of skill set, and scoring 24 points is hard to do in a setting where you shoot poorly. There's allowed to be physicality, and you are the focal point. Kyle Collinsworth, who I had on the show yesterday, if you guys haven't listened, check that out. He compares Darren Peterson to Kyrie Irving in the way that they score. He said basically what I just said. He said Darren Peterson had a bad game and still produced. This is the power he has. Scoring comes easy to him with this high-level skill set, and playing bad and scoring 24 points is a great sign. We got the right guy. Mind you, Kyle Collinsworth attended BYU, is a legend of BYU. He's on the Mount Rushmore along with Danny Ainge, Jimmer, and AJ. And there's some other guys, Durant, and I'll listen to other arguments, but he's in the short list. Let's put it that way. We got the right guys where I want to start. AJ, I think, played a forceful game. He played well and made things happen. He dictated things at his terms and got to the free throw line a lot. Darren Peterson got to the free throw line a lot and probably should have been there more frequently than he was allowed to be. He also missed a couple free throws that instead of scoring 24, put him at 28. He's a great free throw shooter. I'm not worried about that. Steve Wojciechowski said this. This is the coach of the G League, not the G League, the Summer League team. And he said, this is a great example. Teams are going to come after Darren. We don't have tape on the other teams. They have tape on us. And if you watch Darren's first two games, he's going to be the first, second, third guy on the scouting report. So they focused on him, and they pressured high. They fouled him all the time. He had some turnovers. He shot some bad shots. He got space and missed some easy ones. But what he did is he found space, created shots for his teammates, and was still able to play. And I actually don't think he was terribly sped up. I think he had some handle issues. I think maybe the handle was a little too high. But realistically, he just missed some shots. But he still got what he wanted against a team that was draped all over him. And he didn't really have anyone to dispel the pressure. He couldn't pass it out, and you get production from Ace. You didn't get production from Blake Hinson in the way that he had in prior games. I thought the big man play was pretty terrible in this one. Max Asmus really struggled. But that's not the point. The point is Darren Peterson can score in a plethora of different ways, and his on-ball creation is great. He's had 12 assists the other day, and yeah, he's had some turnover woes in 2 of the 3 games. But in those games, a lot of them were attributed to not bad finishing and catching by Kyler Kelly in the first one. This game, there's a lot of fouls, and I don't mean to make excuses. But what matters is that he can do that, and we saw the 12-2. We saw how he can score with the ball in his hands, but we also saw that he can come off a pin down, catch the ball, and throw it a lob inside for Jonas Adu. Imagine that's Jaren Jackson. Imagine that's Lowry Markkinen. He can make people better with his presence, And he was playing a very difficult game, whereas AJ had some support and players to space to open the lane. Now, the next thing I want to focus on is Darren Peterson talking about how happy he feels playing basketball. He said, I'm back to having fun. I wasn't really experiencing it that much at Kansas. I was off the ball a ton. I feel like myself again being on the ball. That's what comes with it, being double teamed. So he's used to being double teamed. He's familiarizing himself with it and with being doubled in the NBA. Now, why am I more excited about DP from this game? And I feel even stronger in my conviction of him being the best player in this class after AJ was considered the best player in this game, went number one in the class, scored 27 points. Well, I'll tell you why. AJ Dybantsa went 2 of 13 on non-rim shots. He went 7 of 18. So he went 5 of 5 at the rim, and he went 2 of 13 everywhere else. And then he made free throws. AJ gets to the line. That was a given for me. And I'll talk about this in the next segment of what I think AJ will do. But let me reiterate, he went 2 of 13 from the mid-range and from 3. When he wasn't at the rim, he wasn't very good. He played with force. And then if you looked at the schematics of this game, the Jazz played Cody Williams and other defenders on AJ on an island. They weren't loading up to the ball. They weren't pressuring full court. And they also didn't play it to a scouting report. AJ doesn't shoot very well. He doesn't really settle for threes. So playing 30 feet away and going over screens makes 0 sense. And that's what they did, allowing runways to the rim. They did not defend him well. He took full advantage, and credit to him. He had a deep bag of moves, some pivots, some fancy moves, and shots he probably should have made. But the numbers dictate he was 2 of 13 on shots that were not right at the cup and weren't free throws. He's going to score a lot of points at the free throw line. But what made me think is if AJ shoots as flat and as poorly as he does in this game on an NBA floor, where is his value when Trae Young has the ball? Where is his value if they keep Anthony Davis when Anthony Davis has the ball? Sure, he can cut, but that's not what AJ does. He has the ball in his hands. In college basketball, you need the ball in your hands, and then you go off ball. And DP scored 20 off ball. DP's first game as a pro scored 28. His second, he scored 25 with 12 assists. Those were both far better performances than AJ's 27 because AJ was inefficient in these performances. DP was over 50% in both of his and distributed. AJ scored at the free throw line. He's going to do that well. I have no doubts about that. I've had no doubts about that forever. I do have doubts about his shot, and they're becoming more and more prominent about that. DP played poorly, ended up with 3 fewer points in a day where he missed effectively 4 free throws by missing 2 of them, and that's 4. And then he also missed a couple shots that he typically makes. I'm not saying that's not something that happens in basketball, but for a bad game, could have easily had 30 points, and he was studied, game planned for, physically abused on the perimeter, and he still, to me, came out the player that I'm more excited for. His pace and his understanding of how to play basketball of that can contribute to winning right away, whether on the ball or off the ball, shined more greatly than AJ, who needed the ball in his hands to distribute, to have attention and to actually force his issue. Off the ball, AJ was a non-factor. From outside 15 feet, complete non-factor. Outside 5 feet, complete non-factor. If you gave him a runway, he's got precocious skill and the ability to get to the free throw line. I just don't think it works in an NBA setting if he doesn't have the ball in his hands at all times.
Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports just as it is in business. The Knicks acquired a bunch of pieces from different teams. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and got everyone pulling in the same direction. It wasn't just one great player or coach. It was a coordinated effort across the entire organization that made it successful. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. Tony Jefferson opens up about his return to the Chargers and the veteran leadership he brings to the defense. Daniel Wade with Locked On Chargers sits down with Jefferson.
For the third time, we have T-Jeff on the show, the best guest, biggest guest of the offseason so far, and a summer full of guests. We're so appreciative of his time. And before we get into it, he's a streamer now. If you don't know, now you know. It's hard to imagine you couldn't, seeing him out there with all these big-time streamers. But you can find him at twitch.tv/T_Jeff23. You can also find him on Insta at Tony Jefferson1 and Tony Jefferson Streaming. T-Jeff, Unc, back on the show. Thank you so much for making the time for us, bro.
Bro, thanks for having me. Every year we got to do it. Ever since I signed with the Chargers, I've been on Locked On. And as I continue these years with the Chargers, it's going to stay the same. I'll be on every year. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be on the show.
No, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. And also he's helped us get, some other Chargers players on the show, and we're very grateful for that because everyone kills it for us. But I think a lot of fans right now, I think with the way the last two seasons have ended, right? Like it feels like it's been bad endings, but then again, you get to 2026 and it still feels like you guys have a chance with this team again to make a run, right? And then you hear guys like Ladd McConkey in the offseason kind of just seeming kind of over just making it to the playoffs, right? He's like, hey, we've been there. We got the playoff patches. Like, we're kind of over that thing now, right? We're hungry to make a deeper run and actually do something when we get there. So I'm asking you to start things off now in year 3 with this team. Like, what are the vibes in the building? Like, what has it been like through the offseason so far?
Vibes have been great. How I would describe it, honestly, is like we pretty much have a lot of the core, same core from 2024, same as 2025 last year. And like you said, we've been through that. We've been through the playoffs and losing in the first round twice. So the vibes are immaculate. Like, they're great. But at the same time, I feel that energy where it's like, we got to go get it.
Yeah.
And we train that way. We work that way. Our attention to detail is that way. Like, how we operate on a daily basis is like, we have a fire underneath us. Because nobody wants to end the season, first round exit or not. Like, you're in the playoffs and you have the opportunity to hold up the trophy. Like, you want to do that. You want to get there. And we've fallen short the past 2 years. And I don't know. I feel that's what I'm feeling, and that's the vibe I'm feeling in the room.
Yeah, just a sense of urgency, maybe, right? Just
Yeah.
trying to get it done, trying to get there, not being satisfied with being there.
Hungry.
You want to get there and have success and go get a championship, right? That's what it's all about. But I'm not sure how many of your teammates grew up rooting for the Chargers like you did, but obviously it's so cool for you to be able to wear that jersey as a player, growing up wearing one as a fan. With the history that you have with this team, what would it mean to you to be able to help this team who is currently going to, being right there on the precipice, make a deep playoff run?
I don't even think I could put that into words. I have those. Crazy enough, I have these type of thoughts probably more than I should about what it would be like winning a Super Bowl with the Chargers. I've said it on stream plenty of times. I would host my own parade in San Diego.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going too. I have to be there.
No, like, it's like my history just with the Chargers just like so deep and just it runs so far. You know what I mean? Like, growing up watching Junior Seau, like when I put my helmet on, that's why I like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I think about is like, dang, these dudes put this Chargers helmet on. So like that's kind of like my mindset, bro, as being a Bolt. So I want to play like that just from, I mean, it's different. Like if you're a fan you're a new fan to a team, you move somewhere, but like when you grow up and like that's your roots and like your favorite players that you ever watched, like, bro, I'm telling you, Seau was the whole reason why I started loving football. Like, my first number was 55, and I was a running back. Like, and that's just one player. Like, I got to watch so many great players roll through there. Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
Like, I got to see all those dudes. So, like, words really can't really think of the words of, like, what it would mean. but I know it'd be like special.
Yeah, man. I get goosebumps just thinking about it as a lifelong San Diegan, you know, having watched those teams, and also, right, not only watch those teams, but watch those teams fall short in big games, right, and have to feel the Marlon McCree, you know, like fumble, or, you know, like, and yeah, 100, like you felt all that, right? So to be one of the reasons you could, you know, put all those kind of demons to bed, I feel like just would be, I mean, a pinnacle of a player, especially for you, you know, still playing at a high level, and also, you know, giving some flashes of the hitman Rodney Harrison out there, and Junior say ow, as you know, some of our fans say ow, baby. And and hey, that's something you're known for, right? Your physicality. You've always been a very physical player. You've always been a big hitter, but showed you can be a little bit of a ball hawk last year as well, bringing down 4 interceptions after having 4 career interceptions going into 2025. You tie the team lead with 4, or, you know, and in 2025. What do you think was the difference last season, right? Like, you just caught the ball now, and it was like, what? How do you go from 4 in your career, and then the last year you get 4 in one season, and just absolutely blow the roof off it?
First and foremost, I want to give credit to my coaches, Coach Adam Fuller, Klink, Jesse Minter. Those guys really explained the game to me in a way that I haven't been explained to pretty much my whole career, which is wild saying.
Yeah.
But I learned so much ball ever since I came back from retirement than I ever have. And I think a lot of that too came from scouting, watching so much tape. Because like I said, I've said it on many platforms before, like I would be scouting a player because I was an NFL pro scout, so I'm watching NFL film,
right?
Not college. And I would be scouting, looking at a player, and I would find myself just watching schemes and like watching teams, how they maneuver on offense, and like, dang, how did I not know that when they get in this concept, like stuff like that. So I knew once I came back, I was going to be better here. And, you know, I didn't really need all the extra attributes at that point, because I felt like I would be able to get there with my brain. Now in 2024, if you look at the tape, I probably felt like I could have had a few picks, but they took me out on passing downs in 2024 for the most part. Yeah, every like third down, I was coming out. I don't know if you guys remember, like Marcus. I do. Like they were just subbing me out. But I finally got to play in passing downs in 2025, and I, with the help of my coaches and putting me in the right position, and then my instincts obviously led me to the ball.
Yeah, they really showed themselves too, man. Like, it just always seemed like when we were watching you, you were always in the right place at the right time. And that, you know, film study that you did as a pro scout, I think it really showed itself on the football field last year in particular. But
welcome back to the Big Six in 60. Kevin O'Connell says the Vikings quarterback competition will play out with J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray pushing each other through training camp. Luke Braun with Locked On Vikings break down what O'Connell's comments mean.
I guess the most viral thing of the last week has been various, we'll call it speculations, on Kevin O'Connell's real opinion on this on this quarterback competition. And obviously the narrative that has been put forth by the team has been pretty clear and concise. These two guys, McCarthy, Murray, they're going to compete. It's going to be a thing. Here they go in training camp, and may the best man win. I would even argue that it's been kind of clear what each guy has been asked to do for this competition, what they've been asked to prove. We'll get to that in a second. And I feel like from a local angle and from a, you know, the insular people like me and everydayers that are paying attention to the Vikings daily, that is the overwhelmingly, you know, most repeated line. Every time you get something about this, you hear something about how we want to make a competitive environment and we want to make these guys compete together and they're going to push each other, and that's going to be the deal. That's the thing we're getting, is that these guys are going to make each other better. I do think we are missing the main point of this, but it's not what you might think. And again, put a pin in that. I'll get to it in a bit. But from a non-Vikings perspective, like, I'll put it this way. A lot of people will ask me about the Vikings either in my life or elsewhere in Locked On or whatever, right? Like, for a lot of people, I'm their guy to go to when they got a question about the Vikings. Of course, I have a podcast about them. And the people who are asking me, so it's not really a competition, right, are not Vikings people. They are people who cover other teams, or people who root for other teams that I just like are my friends, or people who don't really pay that much attention to football but have paid a little bit of attention and kind of understand. It's people with that sort of surface level understanding. And if you ever ask those people, why don't you think it's a real competition? Like, what has led you to thinking it's not a real competition? You don't really get an answer. You get answers about how bad J.J. McCarthy was last year, or the fact that Kyler Murray is a former Pro Bowler and that he's got so much more experience. You hear arguments for why Kyler Murray should start over J.J. McCarthy, and for the record, they're arguments I largely agree with. And it's why I am going into this competition predicting that Kyler Murray will win. I would say predicting instead of like expecting. That's going to be my guess, but this thing will play out. We will watch it play out. Let's see. It's 0-0 on the scoreboard, right? But what I never really hear is, well, we think they're going to start Kyler Murray because of this report or because of this thing that says they're going to. It's more the merits of the decision. Everybody's asking about what they should do or opining about what they should do, but not really what they are doing. And if what they are doing doesn't match what they should do, whenever that happens to your team in the summer, you just say, they're lying. They're actually doing something way smarter than that. It's not that I disagree. It's that they're actually way smart because, hope springs eternal in the summer. And we actually just have to say that they're lying, not doing the thing that we don't want them to do. But this has, of course, gotten a little bit louder this week because you had this whole thing with Diana Rossini getting pulled over and then showing texts nobody can read to a cop, and everybody just grafted whatever they wanted to on this. This has been an insane thing that I've very much avoided. I have seen people doing the NCIS enhance meme on a screenshot of blurry body cam footage of her showing a text message chain with Kevin O'Connell, and all you can really tell is that she's getting one-word answers. But you can't read any of the text. And then people are being like, oh, that must say that J.J. McCarthy sucks. What? Whoa, you made stuff up there. You made a whole big leap there. And I know Rossini in that clip says that she thinks that J.J. McCarthy sucks. And maybe some complaints from somewhere in the organization have given her that opinion. Maybe that's just her own opinion. She's allowed to have an opinion about football people. That is unclear. And I don't really feel like it's smart to speculate on it unless you have a point you're trying to make and you're trying to retroactively fit any evidence to support it. So rather than bog down in all that crappy speculation, which I think is a huge waste of time. All right. I spent all last summer speculating about why Diana Rossini was wrong about a whole bunch of Viking stuff. I'm not going to do it again. And instead, let's recap. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because Kevin O'Connell went on the Dan Patrick show, very weirdly golf tinted set on that show for what is a football interview. I don't know if that's normally a golf show. I'm not that familiar with the Dan Patrick show. I didn't know it to be a golf show, but they're on a golf course and it's all there's golf balls everywhere. I don't know. Anyways, so, there's some kind of riffing back and forth, and then he asks the QB competition question. Okay, what's the deal with the QB competition? And O'Connell gives the same answer he's been giving with a bajillion coach platitudes that basically say, we want a competition. We want them to push each other. And we're going to see how this thing plays out. We got these two guys. I believe in them both. I love both of these quarterbacks. Can't wait to see which one wins the starting job. And Dan Patrick kind of pushes him a little bit more. And what I found interesting about that interview at all, because it was a more laid back and casual setting where O'Connell actually kind of argues why this is a real competition. And they really get, he says, is this really an open competition? And O'Connell says, well, I don't know anything of a closed competition. And he basically says, yeah, this is a real one. This is a real competition. And you can tell that he's frustrated and he's hyper aware of the narrative that the competition isn't actually a real thing, that it is some kind of charade, some kind of, big dog and pony show. And you can tell he wants to argue a lot more about it in ways that will generate quotes that would get him in trouble later. So he stops himself, but he's entirely unwilling to do the thing that people want him to do. And I wonder, what do people want to hear from Kevin O'Connell? Because I feel like every time he has some kind of quote about this competition, everybody collectively rolls their eyes at his answer. And I'm wondering, like, what wouldn't you roll your eyes at? Does he have to come out on the podium and be like, that dude sucks, but boy, he's bad. We're going to actually get rid of him and Kyler Murray's the starter. Like, do we have to do that? Does he have to just cleanly say Kyler Murray is going to be our starting quarterback and he can say whatever platitude he wants to try to, you know, hush things on JJ McCarthy, but he's going to say, you know, Kyler Murray's our starter. And at what point is he supposed to do that? Like, at what point do we want him to do that? So that's a question that I have for a lot of people. It's like, what do we want to hear at this point from Kevin O'Connell? Because every time he gets asked, he's not going to give you a different answer. You're not going to be the magical person that says, that asks him the question and he goes, well, actually, this whole thing is, I just didn't want JJ McCarthy to look that bad because, you know, he was my guy a year ago and that would make me look stupid. But Kyler Murray's the starter now. Like, you're not going to get that. You're going to get, at best, something about how, well, you know, we're going to start Murray, but McCarthy is still growing and we're still excited about his direction. And again, the party line that we have been given, and I do believe that there are at least some people in the organization that genuinely believe this, naive as it is that Kyler Murray is going to essentially play the bridge quarterback role that Sam Darnold played in 2024, or was supposed to play in 2024. And do 1 year, it's going to go how it goes, and we're going to let him, you know, go off to greener pastures, and then McCarthy will be the guy. He had another year of development, and we're going to be happy with that. And O'Connell has said that. He said, you know, and I think it was Rob Brzezinski when he was interim GM at like the Combine or the owners meeting or something, one of those interviews where he was like, look, you know, 2024, Darnold came in and he played the 1 year, and that was supposed to be a developmental year for JJ McCarthy. He got hurt. The development didn't go the way we wanted it to. So we want to do the developmental year again. And so we're going to bring in another guy like Murray to be the you know, captain the ship while we do the developmental thing with McCarthy. Or maybe McCarthy wins the competition and it's all a moot point. But with what I think, I don't know, it feels like every time this comes up, somebody thinks they found the smoking gun that shows how the Vikings really feel about this guy. And I feel as though that smoking gun will not exist until August. And that's why I don't think you're getting like some crazy investigative journalism on this. That's not why there's some scandal about how, you know, why they really lied about this or whatever. And that's why I kind of don't know. I think an uncomfortable question for Vikings brass is, would you have done this Kyler Murray thing if it cost you anything? He was costless. Would they have gone out and traded for him or paid him a free agent contract if Arizona didn't have their big guaranteed money thing that made that kind of a moot point? Would they have even done this? I don't know.
That's all for today's Big Six in 60. If you follow basketball, football, or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has a half hour on the biggest news in the NFL, the NBA, and on campus, going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NBA, the Big 3 in 30 NFL, or the Big 3 in 30 college, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big Six in 60.